Sony 5F94DL, 1969. This is the documentation of the experience of a hobby project, made with the hope that it could be helpful to others. But any comment that could help me to improve my practice is also welcome and appreciated. Unlike other videos in this series, this particular one shows only a cleaning process, and there is no extra written documentation attached to it. According to Doc.SF, this radio model appeared in 1969, but there is a previous version with the name 5F94L which appeared in 1967. It seems that the difference between the two versions could be related to the extension of the FM band. The later model, ending with DL, reaches 108 MHz, while the original one could reach only 104 MHz. However, there have been late runs of the original model 5F94L covering the FM band up to 108 MHz, which makes things a bit confusing. Therefore, the only visible difference between the two versions seems to lie in the colors used for the dial, from black writing on a white background to white writing on a blue background. This radio was relatively expensive. Here is an advert appearing in a French magazine, the loudspeaker number 1329, November 11, 1971, page 65. The price is about 400 French francs, which could have corresponded to 1/3 of the average salary of an employee, or more than half of the minimum wage. This radio covers the bands long wave, medium wave, short wave, and FM. It is powered by 3C batteries, making a total of 4.5 volts, or by an external power supply. But one should be very careful, because the polarization of the DC plug should be reversed if compared to current standards. The central terminal is negative while the positive terminal corresponds to the outer part of the plug. The dial of this radio could be internally illuminated, but this is only useful in total darkness. This radio arrived physically intact, but with troubles receiving the AM bands. The following clips are edited and, in most cases, they are also accelerated. After removing the screws, the back panel can be lifted. The ferrite antenna is tilted on purpose. The telescopic antenna has a protrusion inside the case that must not hit nor brush the winding inserted on the right side of the ferrite rod. Before proceeding any further, a first superficial cleaning is obtained with an air blower. With the help of the soldering iron, the small wire of the telescopic antenna is disconnected so that the back panel could be put aside. The knobs for controlling the tuning and the volume are extracted. The screws holding the white tubular battery containment are removed. They are also holding the small chassis to the bottom of the case. Unfortunately, the battery compartment was affected by corrosive agents that led to the development of rust. There are 3 more screws to be removed, but not identified yet. Therefore, some cleaning is done, which would allow one to observe and become more familiar with the internal electrical arrangement. Looking for better access to the areas that should be cleaned, the band selection buttons on top are removed. There must be more screws to be removed for releasing the small chassis, and also those on the side responsible for holding the audio ports are removed. The last one hides under the tuning knob. But after removing the screws, there are wires to desolder. The first couple is connecting the loudspeaker. The last one goes to the dial light. The chassis can then be lifted from the right side. With the chassis extracted from the case, cleaning is much easier. With the help of a very small paintbrush, some Vaseline oil is applied to the switch contacts. Two temporary wires are soldered in place of the original loudspeaker for connecting a bench speaker and testing the chassis. This early test is not giving good results yet. The band switch selector does not operate well. More Vaseline oil is applied to the band switches. Then, the chassis is connected again for testing. The noise is generated by a computer power supply, and it does not matter. Now the band selector works better, except for the long waveband switch. The band switches are very long, but they are better accessible by turning the chassis upside down. This way, it is possible to pour the Vaseline oil directly inside. On a small chassis like this one, there is so much rust caused by the acid spilled by old batteries abandoned inside the radio. This is treated using a gel rust remover and some fine sandpaper. The residues of rust remover are cleaned and washed using alcohol. The result is not perfect, but it is preferable to avoid insisting on using the rust remover so close to delicate electronics. The plastic case is now cleaned using alcohol and other detergents. While cleaning the front with brushes, one should pay attention to avoid getting in contact with the loudspeaker cone that is behind. The residues of the old foam on the battery compartment lid are removed. The radio is ready to be reassembled, and the temporary wires used for connecting the bench loudspeaker are desoldered. While inserting the small chassis in the case, the speaker wires and those for the dial light are guided to emerge from the center. The screws that are independent from the battery compartment are put back. The white tubular battery compartment is cleaned carefully from the old corrosion residues. There is a small insulation piece that has the purpose of keeping the chassis electrically isolated from the metal spring of the battery compartment lid. It is glued and put back in place. The wires from the dial light and the loudspeaker are soldered back to their board. The tubular battery compartment is put back with its screws. The telescopic antenna is soldered to its wire. The screws of the back of the case are put back, and then also the batteries return in their compartment. The 4-band push buttons and the knobs are cleaned very carefully before reinstalling them. A piece of soft packaging material is glued to replace the original foam on the battery compartment lid. Here is the dial illuminated by the small internal light when the environment is otherwise in total darkness. The light is activated pressing the red button while the radio is on. The reception is tested indoors in the evening, relying on the ferrite antenna for the long and medium wave bands and on a long wire for the short wave. The test starts from the long wave band, and a few stations are received even if they arrive with a very weak signal and the noise drowns them out.
Dalej będzie remont szafy w domu po 2 latach robienia filmu i załatwianie różnych rzeczy takich właśnie domowych. A więc to jest taka konsolidyczna do tej pory kształtowanie silnie powoduje się kształtowanie, że taka ten
Medium wave band.
ayagoo dadku waddo ay ku socon karaan iyo hubanti ay naftooda iyo haddii
Observaron cómo de vidrio microplásticos. Estuvieron estudios científicos que
qofku la maalgashi marka laga hadlayo maalgashi waxaa asaas stands on the sofa, virgin bet even more.
Вам присоединяется Александр Сергеевич, приветствую вас. Людмила, здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте. Ну, я вот так назвала вылетными подземными магистралями, потом как-то подумала, наверное, я не права, а теперь вот еще раз подумала и решила, что нет, все-таки права. Действительно.
Presiune și de șumudică, i-a arătat și un galben a antrenorului de la Rapid, pus sub presiune și de public, Robert Avram, un arbitru.
Региональная циста Ужбальдскорная капля при Ужбальту запарта заради падания каменя. 18:50 минут. Радио Купер. Ветер Приморске.
Shortwave band. For obtaining a decent reception, a long wire is connected to the telescopic antenna with a crocodile clip.
Belki hani sezonda Samsun'un kötü oynadığı konuşacağız lig bittiğinde o bir maçlardan bir tanesi. Hocanın da zaten
Восемь поколений семейства Лэй посвятили себя дворцовой архитектуре. Первым архитектором искусства.
massive amounts of people are visiting every winter. So it's both the demand and supply. The supply has increased tremendously.
Чертежи есть. Делают чужим методом. Схожими методами, которые применяются в наши дни. Такие образцы делались из бумаги. Стебли.
吃的为主。现在关注呢，更多这种像健康消费，它年期的很多健康疾病，它不是老年期形成。
carraa kana argadhee asitti hojjan argamu kootti baay'een gammada. Jalqaba game gara waa'ee hojii fiilmii.
Los productos de Turquía con indicación geográfica. Un tipo de arroz que es un plato para ocasiones especiales. Arroz con wrap con masa de hojaldre de...
في القصيدة الآتية يوم أمس. وذكرنا ائتلاف السيد فيفار الذي يتكون من 5 أحزاب تضم 7 وزراء فرنكفونية.
Như thế nào để mình có thể là phòng ngừa?
Được kia thì mình có cái gì? Như là viêm phổi hoặc viêm đường.
Kabajamoo dhaggeeffattoota keenya qophii keenya har'aa kanumaan xumurra. Qophiilee keenya karaa isin ittiin hordofuu dandeessan karaa bilbilaa.
FM.
L'amore, quello vero, ti fa sentire le farfalle nel stomaco.
Seguirà il giubileo delle famiglie, dei bambini, dei nonni.
Ho capito che insieme non possiamo proprio essere felici.
Prima di sedersi a tavola, su Radio Marilù, Born.
progetto prima le mamme e le donne.
Triste destino, ma qualcuno
Una congiura.
deve pur vivere.
Mi hai fatto girare di tutto di più, un polpettone, esatto.
O su bellaemonella.it.
Comune di Sanremo, staremo a vedere.
Nostra incarichita. Per il nuovo.
Arrivederci, arrivederci gelosa. Ti porta il meglio della musica che ha...
È veramente la fine ai cani.
Conosci solo te.
Li sogniamo. Ovviamente fino a esaurimento. Radio DJ, il vostro DJ. Su Radio Company. Radio Easy Rock.